You are not going to believe the story that I'm about to tell you. I just got back from church, and as a biblical cosmology believer, aka flat earth, I'm tentative to go to organized religious organizations. But my wife really would like me to go, and we moved, and a lot of people in our neighborhood go to the same church. Anyway, we're in the sermon today, and the pastor is talking, and he brings up something about how ridiculous it is that people don't believe in the resurrection. And then he decided to compare it to people believing in flat earth. He literally decided to compare it in front of 1,000 people to people believing in the earth being flat, and how silly it is that people don't realize if it was flat, you would fall off the edge. And then he went on to ask the audience, are there any people that believe in flat earth in here? And there were about 5 of us, and I made sure to yell very loud that I did. And then he literally, the pastor of the church, literally went on to say, please seek counseling. Please seek counseling. So I decided to not storm out in anger just to protect my wife's feelings. And instead I waited, and I decided to talk to said pastor after church. And instead of apologizing when I told him that I am literally here because biblical cosmology, aka flat earth, brought me back to Christianity, made me a believer in Jesus and God, and that I was only at church because of flat earth, and instead of just apologizing and saying I didn't mean to offend people, he had the audacity to say, well, we joke around here and we don't take ourselves too seriously. You shouldn't be offended. It's like I had everything I could do to punch a pastor in the face. And I'm not a violent guy, but when you mock me, you mock my beliefs, you mock others' beliefs in your church, and then you defend it with saying, basically, I was being sensitive. And then I decided to go on and say, sir, what does water do in a cup? I said, it lays level and flat, right? I said, sir, what does water do in a bowl? It lays level and flat. In a bathtub, it lays level and flat. In a pool, it's level and flat. In a lake, it's level and flat. In an ocean, what do you think it does? It lays level and flat. He said, I've looked into all the flat earth evidence. I don't find it factual. And then I said, well, you know what it talks about on page 1 of the Bible? The firmament. You know what that's part of? Biblical cosmology in flat earth. And then he talked about some craziness about how, well, that was the beliefs before the flood. And now that the flood happened, Noah's flood, there's no firmament. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't even know the Bible. The windows of the firmament opened to cause the flood. The firmament just didn't disappear and it went from flat with a firmament to a globe. What are you talking about, Pastor? Anyway, nonetheless, I will not be going back to that church. I was already super hesitant and didn't want to go because churches, unfortunately, are just like schools. It's all indoctrination. And yeah, there's a lot of truth in school and there's a lot of truth in church. But for the most part, it's pastors that went to school and got indoctrinated and preach a bunch of false beliefs. Most of them, he's probably going to preach on evolution next week. So humans have always been humans, Pastor. We didn't evolve from apes. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rant. That's my post for today. Have a great day. Oh, and this was not for entertainment purposes.